power corrupts people.
Right.
And so there's a reason that the Bible calls for a plurality of elders. This is not supposed to just be one guy calling the shots and everybody submitting to this one person. The Bible's very specific about who is qualified to lead the church.
Right. Which, I think most of us have read through those verses and have them tucked away. I don't understand. One of the things I've looked back and reflected upon and see a lot of times in these stories is that I include myself. I want to say that a lot of my healing journey has not only been studying and learning and getting information about what was done to me, or what did I just walk through, but also what was in me. What was my contribution to it? I mean, I was there 23 years.
Oh,
There was a long line of people that went before me.
Yeah.
Which was part of what my husband and I discovered after was, oh my gosh, all those people that were there one day, gone tomorrow, wonder if they had the same thing. And we actually did go back and talk to as many people as we could remember, or sometimes I went alone, we went together sometimes, and to ask for forgiveness because there was, not that there was an intentional disregard, but we were part of a culture that left them for dead, so to speak. Sometimes my words are, sound, but this is how you feel. You feel that you've been discarded by the very community that you thought loved you. And then when no one comes looking for you, you just don't know how that feels till it happens. And then when you know how it feels, you want to go ask everybody you can for forgiveness. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't just come to find out. But back to the biblical leadership thing is that, I knew all along that there were requirements for biblical leaders because one thing I studied, and you can always feel free to help me if I'm off here, which I love about our friendship because you're so articulate and so well studied. When we first met, I just remember just feeling like I was just running after you to say, I read this great book and I'd want to read it. And just anyway, I just love your friendship. I just want to say that.
Same.
But I knew that there were biblical qualifications for leadership, but for some reason, what we end up doing is we elevate talent or skill over character. And why do we do this? I don't, why
dynamic preaching over,
we begin to, we disregard character as if it doesn't matter. We look at what is going on a pulpit and we think about what's being said, which sometimes spiritually abusive situations, oftentimes what's being said is actually right or close to right. Like Mark Driscoll a lot of times would say things that, biblically I could agree with you.
Yeah.
But we're disregarding the behavior. But what I love about the biblical qualifications for leadership is it includes both.
Yeah.
It talks about sound doctrine and it talks about behavior. But we think, I don't know why we do this in the church. Why do we think that leaders deserve a longer rope? Like we should just justify all their sins. Because why? Because they're good, rhetorical skills, or they've got a huge platform.
It's the cult of personality.
It is the cult of personality.
Culture is. That's not just in the church; it's everywhere. It's like you find the personality that is going to represent you. It promotes tribalism, and it's definitely a problem.
And it's not love. When you think about it, okay, to give your pastor or your leader all this rope to keep sinning and being a jerk.
Yeah.
I
remember defending him. I remember, because he would say things sometimes that, even from the pulpit, that in my heart, I was like, that's not Christ-like. But I would excuse it because I would say, oh, well, Peter always was put in this. Peter hacked off the guy's ear, right? Right. He's a Peter. Yeah. And you make, but we have to, Peter was not that guy when he was after the resurrection, after the Pentecost. Right. Peter wasn't the guy that hacked off the guy's ear anymore. Right. And so we sometimes, don't make those connections. And it's not that God holds elders to a standard of perfection. Right. But there's a general character qualification. And how about I read some of these? Because there are some very interesting qualifications for biblical leaders I don't think people often considered very well. So this is Titus 1, 5-9. And Titus says, this is why I left you in Crete, so that you might put what remained into order and appoint elders in every town as I directed you. So these are going to be like what we would call pastors. These are the people that are going to be leading the church. If anyone is above reproach, the husband of one wife, and his children are believers, and not open to the charge of debauchery or insubordination. For an overseer, as God's steward, must be above reproach. He must not be arrogant, or quick-tempered, or a drunkard, or violent, or greedy for gain, but hospitable, a lover of good, self-controlled, upright, holy, and disciplined. He must hold firm to the trustworthy word as taught, so that he may be able to give instruction in sound doctrine and also to rebuke those who contradict it. So he's to uphold orthodoxy and teach biblical doctrine correctly and marry that with a pretty, I mean, it's not like that high of a level of character,
Right.
you know, that his home's in order, that he's not verbally abusing people or flying into rages. He's not given to, you know, being a drunk or any of that stuff. I mean, it's not even that high of a standard, you know.
Right.
It's not like he has to, you know, fast 5 times a week. Or,
Right, right.
1 Timothy 3:1-7, this is Paul. The saying is trustworthy. If anyone aspires to the office of overseer, he desires a noble task. Overseers must be above reproach, the husband of one wife, sober-minded, sounds familiar, sober-minded, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not a drunkard, not violent but gentle, not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. He must manage his own household well, with all dignity, keeping his children submissive. For if anyone does not know how to manage his own household, how will he care for God's church? He must not be a recent convert, or he may become puffed up with conceit and fall into the condemnation of the devil. Moreover, he must be thought well of by outsiders, so that he may not fall into disgrace, into the snare of the devil. And then this last one is 1 Peter 5:1-4, and this is an exhortation to the elders. I exhort the elders among you, as a fellow elder and witness of the sufferings of Christ, as well as a partaker in the glory that is going to be revealed, shepherd the flock of God that is among you, exercising oversight, not under compulsion, but willingly as God would have you, not for shameful gain, but eagerly, not domineering over those in your charge, but being examples to the flock. When the chief shepherd appears, you will receive the unfading crown of glory. And I love that we have this. And I don't know why, and so often we see this Moses model of leadership where it's one person who kind of calls the shots. And as long as that, you know, it might be working okay in a church where the person is really submitted to the Lord and is humble and has all these things. But as we know, power corrupts people.
Right.
And so there's a reason that the Bible calls for a plurality of elders. This is not supposed to just be one guy calling the shots and everybody submitting to this one person. It's sad that in so many churches we don't follow these guidelines.